Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for being here today. Our purpose for being here, of course, is to give you a presentation about our journey that we call C.O.P.S Team 5. The first thing, of course, we did as a team is to learn exactly what a C.O.P.S team was. C.O.P.S stands for Community-Oriented Problem Solving. It is a philosophy designed to give a sense of overall community and develop community contacts that can impact future problems. Of course, we were told this consists of three components: community partnership, organizational transformation, and problem solving. Next thing we did was to find out how we came to be here. The Sheriff's Office selected 5 individuals from different divisions of the agency to comprise a team for 30 days to address an ill-structured problem. The team is made up of self-motivated, hard-working, and knowledgeable individuals. Of course, when we heard that, we were pretty happy to know that we'd been picked. Says they will work as a team and independently. Team facilitators will be available to guide as needed. All of our documentation is attached to OCA report number 2012-008172. And if y'all would please, we would be very happy if y'all would go check that out, check out everything we did, all our paperwork, and kind of how we did everything. Now I'd like to introduce our team. I'm Larry Sanders. I'm with the Transportation Division from the detention facility. We also have Maria Rissenack from Property and Evidence, Robert Stone from Patrol, and Jamie Stern from Detention. Our team also consisted of a BCAT agent. Of course, he wishes to remain anonymous. Our facilitators were Sergeant Mike Murphy, Captain Rusty Sweezy, and Chief Kevin Preston. The next thing they gave to us was, of course, our community problem. The community problem we were given reads as follows. The Buncombe County Sheriff's Office has had a consistent problem in Barnardsville with complaints about drug use and drug trafficking. Several months ago, the A&E TV show Intervention featured a young Barnardsville lady who has a prescription drug addiction. The TV show documented on film numerous drug deals and drug usage in the Barnardsville community. This created quite a stir and increased complaints. Even though we have not had an increase in property crime in that general area, the community's perception of this issue is it is creating an unsafe environment and impacting the quality of life in a very negative way. Because of recent drug trends, we have seen a shift from prescription medication to methamphetamine. The Madison County Sheriff's Office has also been working on this issue because it generates crime that crosses our jurisdictional boundaries. Your assignment over the next 4 weeks will be to work with the Madison County Sheriff's Office, SCET, the community, and any other agency or service provider to impact these issues and leave the community with a long-term sustainable plan to impact the problem. Even though this is ill-structured problem by design is primarily enforcement driven, the team should be very conscious of non-enforcement solutions that you can bring to the community that can have a long-term impact and positively impact the quality of life. Well, we were given that problem, and most of us were not even familiar with the Barnardsville area. So we decided to do a little research to find out exactly what we were dealing with. The first thing we did was pull a map, find out exactly where in Buncombe County Barnardsville was. Some of us didn't even know that. So we pulled that up and found out, exactly what we're dealing with and made ourselves familiar with the terrain and where we're going to be working for the next 30 days. We used the zip code 28709 as a reference to help us research our problem. We pulled up some census information to find out exactly who and what we were dealing with. We found out the population was roughly about 2,225 people. The average house value there, $87,900. The average household income was $28,438 a year. And the median age, which kind of surprised me, was around 45 and a half years old. And by using this information, we found out it's not a very diverse group. It's kind of the same type people, a lot of families, a lot of people that have known each other for years. They stay in that community, not a lot of new people moving in. So everybody kind of knew everybody. Next thing, of course, we did was to pull the calls for service to see what kind of issues they'd been having in that area. Pre-C.O.P.S team, we pulled calls for service from 8/1/2012 to 9/16, the day before we started. Found there were 161 calls for service. During the time we were out there, from 9/17/2012 to 10/9/2012, there were only 67 calls for service, resulting in a 58.38% reduction in calls for service. To us, that was amazing. And I'd like to give you guys something to think about. Imagine if we could do this in every area of Buncombe County. If we could reduce the cost for service by almost 60%, with everybody that we have, all the resources we have tied up in that, imagine all the better things we could do with our time and energy if we could just do that everywhere in Buncombe County. Next thing we did after we gathered information was sit down together and come up with a set of goals that we felt we would like to achieve during our 30 days together. We came up with this list: investigate and validate the perceived problem as given, to make sure that that's what was going on out there. That's what we were hearing, but is that truly what's going on? So we wanted to go out there and find out. We used a problem-based learning strategy to address, solve, and institute long-term proactive measures. We want to make sure what we do continues in that area. Identify the main persons of interest related to the problem. That wasn't very hard. Improve networking and overall relation within the divisions of the Sheriff's Office. And we want to engage and empower the community while building a trusting relationship with the Sheriff's Office. When we went out there, we first started this, the community at large really wasn't law enforcement friendly. Everyone kind of avoided us. They all know each other. We were kind of the strangers coming in. And we were told several times that as soon as we got off the interstate, they knew we were coming. Everyone in that community was on the phone telling everybody we were coming. And everybody kind of ran and hid. But the more we talked to everybody, the more everybody got to know us. Everybody started waving at us. They knew we were there. They'd stop and talk. If we were eating somewhere, people would come up and talk to us. It made us feel real good. Felt like we were making a real impact. We wanted to use a team approach, how we'd been taught, to achieve these goals that we had set. The team used the community-oriented problem-solving concept to brainstorm and brainstream ideas for addressing the problem. C.O.P.S Team 5 sponsored a community meeting at the Big Ivy Community Center to provide the residents an opportunity to share their concerns and grievances. The team also met with the business owners in order to gather further information on the issues that impact the business sector. We then sat down and decided to come up with an action plan. How are we going to achieve these goals that we want to do? We have to have a way to do that we're all on board with, so that we all are going in the same direction and not fighting each other on how we want to do things. So we sat down and came up with this action plan as a way to accomplish what we wanted to and a way to gauge how we were doing. Our action plan consisted of canvass the area. We handed out flyers and established lines of communication with the business owners and residents. It's a great way to get to know the business owners, the people there. We had something in our hands to give them, to let them know we were there and why we were there. It really broke the ice very easily. We then would network within the Sheriff's Office and get information about previous issues affecting the Barnardsville area. Sheriff Duncan and the team would attend a meeting with concerned citizens at the community center, and we would obtain and validate a list of open warrants for the 28709 zip code, and then we would attempt service on all those warrants. We then wanted to conduct multiple saturations and directed patrols in order to increase visibility and deter criminal activity. We wanted to attend Barnardsville Elementary School Fall Festival, which just as it happens fell within the 30 days we were going to be there. We wanted to conduct a meet and greet at the Barnardsville Elementary School to get to know the kids and the staff there. We wanted to utilize inmate workers for a day of beautification at the Big Ivy Community Center. We wanted to attend a Cub Scout meeting, and we wanted to bring Major Mouse with us. We also wanted to meet with the business owners who lease space at the Forks of Ivy Plaza. And here's a copy of the flyer that we handed out. At the community center, the people of Barnardsville were given the opportunity to voice their perceived complaints, how they felt crime was being committed, who was doing it, what their issues were, as opposed to what our issues were. So we gave them an opportunity to do that, and the community concerns that they came up with were speeding and reckless driving on Paint Fork Road, Stoney Fork Road and Barnardsville Highway. Had some issues with the red light and stop sign infractions on Dillingham Road. They're actually building a new bridge over the creek there, and that's the only 2 red lights in Barnardsville, and they're temporary ones set up. And it's a 1-lane road, and all the workers were there working on the bridge and stuff like that, and a lot of people were running that red light and speeding through there, running stop signs. So it was kind of a danger for the guys working. They also perceived that there was a lack of officer presence. Thought there was drug activity in the area. They wanted the warrant service that we were going to do. They also felt they had a scrap metal theft problem. Now I'm going to turn it over to my teammates. Jamie Stern's going to come up next, and I'm going to let them tell you exactly how we implemented our action plan and the results of our efforts.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Stern. I work at the detention center. I've been there for 5.5 years. Working in detention, we don't get to get out in the community as often as we would like, so this was a fabulous opportunity to allow some of our detention staff to get to do that. We went to several festivals, interactions with the community while we were out there. The Fall Festival was the first one we went to, and it was probably the most supportive one. This is where the community actually got to see us for the first time, interact with them, interact with their children, get to know them on a more pleasant level than just seeing us out there roaming around in patrol cars. We were fortunate to be able to bring Major Mouse with us to the Fall Festival, which kind of put the children at ease. They're not just seeing us standing up there in uniforms with guns on our side and looking kind of scary. This kind of eased our transition into the community with the children. We got to meet with Miss Heidi Allison. She is the principal, the one in the dunk tank over here. She was very supportive of us being there in the community. She was very supportive of us working with the children in the community. There's Major Mouse on a horse. That was a big feat in itself. But I can't explain how important that was to have that character there with us, considering this is such a small community and we're scary to kids. And this really helped ease us into that transition. While we were there, we got to meet with the local Cub Scout troop there. They were extremely excited to see us there. We were asked to go to a meeting that they had on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock at the community center, and we graciously went. We brought Major Mouse with us, and he got to talk to the children, interact with them. Some of the things that we were asked to talk to the children about were community awareness and how to keep ourselves and our families safe and what they can do to be productive members of the community. We asked them several questions from their Cub Scout manual, which they knew like the back of their hand. We talked about bullies and why it's not okay to bully or be bullied. That was one of the things that the children actually brought up to us. And we kind of just flew with that because it was a major concern to their parents. We talked about the importance of community and what it means to be a good citizen. Prior to talking to the kids, we sat down and had fellowship with them. We sat down and ate a meal with them. We talked to their parents. We talked to the kids. We interacted. We played. We were silly. And that gave them such ease and such comfort to come up to us and to talk to us about the issues that they have. After that, we went to the Big Ivy Community Center, which is the central hub of this community. While we were there, we noticed that the river walk and the playground and the basketball court and the pool, it was used by everybody in the community. Everybody in that community goes to the community center. That's basically the only place where you have Wi-Fi. And we noticed while we were out there, we'd see people sitting in the grass, using their computers, children running, playing, dogs. That was very eye-opening. One of the negative things that we noticed is that it was kind of falling behind. There's only 4 members of their board, and we had a chance to sit with their board and ask Ms. Morgan, you know, what can we do while we're out here to help you, to give you support in your community. And some of the things were cleaning up the ball field. The grass was so high it would come up to your hip. The bleachers were overgrown with weeds and flowers. So our plan of action, we're going to use inmate labor. We took 5 inmates out to the community center. We cut down shrubbery. We cleaned out the bleachers. This is an after picture of cleaning out those bleachers. This little building right here is a historical building, and it was continuously being broken into. This is where they have a thrift store for the community, and people were breaking in because they couldn't, when Ms. Morgan was out there, she couldn't see because of all the shrubbery, the building, and kept getting broken into. So we cut down those trees, we cleaned up the grounds, we moved some signs. When you first come into the community center, you can see their accomplishments, you can see the park rules, the city ordinances, things like that, to hopefully deter criminal activity. Another big thing that we did that I didn't know that other COP teams did was go out to the communities that they had been to. We sat down and we had fellowship with these people to let them know that we are still in their community, that we're still here if they need us, that we haven't gone away. I know that with the guiding principles of our sheriff's office, the COPS team's ideal was to build relationships within the department, within the community. This helped us push forward from being just good to being great. And that was the big ideal here in Barnardsville, was to go from just being good to great. I'm going to now turn it over to Officer Stone, and he's going to talk to you about the enforcement of what we did in Barnardsville.
Before being assigned to this team, I was on my regular tour duty out in Swannoa and Black Mountain. I didn't have a clue what the COPS team was other than what I've heard, and that wasn't what I found out that it really was once I started doing it. And I'm glad to have had this opportunity on COPS Team 5 to go out into the Barnardsville community and impact where I live in a positive way, because I live in the community. And we want to thank you, Sheriff Duncan, for allowing us to be part of bringing your vision to the citizens of Barnardsville. And talking with Deputy Tinsley of the Sheriff's Office, she works in civil process, she was explaining to me some of the things that the COPS team did, and I didn't have a clue. She was talking about going and meeting at the welcome table and sitting down in the community and speaking with those folks, and that wasn't what was on my mind. My mind was answering my calls for service and going home at the end of the day. But she kept talking to me and trying to get me on board with that. And eventually it sank in about the second week while I was on the COPS team of what they were trying to get me to see. And our team had the problem that we were given. We went out to Barnardsville to put it into place. We met with several other members of our agency. Sergeant Aller from the SCAT team, First Sergeant Pat Staggs from the Highway Patrol gave us Trooper Roger Kent and Sergeant Baldwin from Transportation, and Officer Hulse came out with us. And since there's not a welcome table at the community center in Barnardsville, there's only 2 places to eat out there, and we chose one of them for breakfast, which was D&D. And D&D is kind of like the welcome table of Barnardsville. A lot of the members that live in Barnardsville eat there, and the citizens eat there occasionally. Not every day, but I didn't want to say that. So we decided to meet there, and everybody sat down together, let the community see us, and we discussed our plans of action, and that was handing out some warrants and deciding where we were going to go and what we were going to do. And Corporal Sanders and Officer Stern went to the magistrate's office and confirmed those 157 active warrants that we had outstanding in Barnardsville that our BCAT agent and Maria Risnack had pulled from the 28709 area code, and they confirmed those to make sure that they were active and they were current. And we met at the Barnardsville Fire Department, and they were gracious enough to let us utilize their facility there for our center of our meetings. And we met there, and that was a staging ground for transportation on our warrant service, because we had planned such a big warrant service that Sergeant Baldwin and Deputy Hulse was going to be our transport. since we didn't have to break away and run back and forth to the jail. On our warrant service, we set out with 157 active warrants, and that was on 116 people. Out of those 157 warrants, we were able to serve 20 warrants, and seven people were arrested off of that, and that was done in 1 day and a half. Half of that being the SCIT team working with us on warrant services and saturation and directed patrol as well, because they were doing double duty since we used both. We used their members to do both things at once. That way, if someone was going back and forth trying to avoid us, they were working to deter that as well. We were on the hunt trying to look for these people. The citizens of Barnardsville wanted them out of their community if they were the hardened criminals. If they were just different people that had warrants on them, they wanted their warrants served because they felt like that they were running from us and needed to go to jail and face what they had done. And it didn't take long for the community to find out that we were in their community, and we were there showing our presence. And while we attempted these warrants, we found out, as this one right here was an address that was given for one of the warrants, and as you can see, it's not habitable. It's a barn. There was a mattress on some rafters there, and someone had been mowing around it and everything, but they weren't there when we went to serve the warrants. And we were able to determine that a lot of these warrants had fictitious addresses, and a lot of people had moved out of the community, and a lot of the people, even some people had moved out of the state, because we asked some neighbors, hey, where's these people at? Have you seen these people? And they said they haven't lived here in a long time. So we were able to make sure that those warrants had the wrong addresses and come up with some ideas maybe to go in and look at getting some of those out of the system. We'd received some information from our BCAT agent and the other members of BCAT that one of our most wanted persons that the community really wanted put in jail out of their town was hiding out over in Madison County. So we contacted Madison County along with BCAT. We went over there. Captain Jeff Neal, Madison County Sheriff's Office, assisted us, and we were able to arrest that person. He had 11 outstanding warrants in Buncombe County, 1 outstanding warrant out of another county, and as a bonus, his girlfriend was there with him, and she had outstanding warrants in Buncombe County. They were felony warrants probation violation. She was arrested as well, and that was a big relief for the community. We didn't tell him that he was arrested, but the next day on my way into work, I stopped for a cup of coffee at D&D, and I was told that he was arrested. So they knew he was arrested, even as we were taking him to jail probably. We also got some information from VCAT of some people they were looking for and had interest in. That was probably in the Woodfin area. So we attempted services on these warrants in Woodfin with the Woodfin Police Department and BCAT and the SCIT team. Also, we were advised that one of the persons was in Yancey County. The female was in Yancey County. That was part of that. We contacted the Yancey County Sheriff's Office, and Deputy Wilson went out to the lady's house and arrested her and contacted us, and we were able to facilitate that. And in the community meeting, we were advised of some speeders, Barnardsville Highway, and just recently we had a fatality on Barnardsville Highway just prior to this right here, and I think speed was a factor in that as well. And right here on Barnardsville Highway, at the corner of Barnardsville Highway and Whittemore Branch, we had an incident where a young man was speeding, and I believe he was impaired as well, and he tore this fence down right here where this sign is, and tore the sign down. It had been there for many years, and as a result of that, the community got together, and I think with the pastor, and petitioned the DMV and got the speed reduced from 55 down to 45 right through there on this stretch of road, which speed limit's 45 through here. And up Stoney Fork area there, the speed limit's not posted, so it's 55. But there were some concerns about speeders up there as well. And while we were doing that, through the help of SCET team, Highway Patrol, and ourselves, 3 speeding citations were issued and 1 written warning for speed was issued. We were able to utilize the Highway Patrol for our radar. While we were eating one day at Sheena's, once again, Sheena's restaurant was where we used our community table for instance, and for our meeting. We were sitting there eating. We were approached by several of the community members, and they told us that there was some issues up there around the bridge. And one of the workers there, I think it was a crewman or a crew leader, he advised that some of his people had almost been hit working right here along this bridge. As Corporal Sanders said, it is 1 lane there now at this time, and they do have portable red lights on each end. And he said people continuously run it all day. It's a 2-minute delay on the light, and it's not got a sensor or anything in the ground. It's just set up that way. So the SCET team and our team went up there. We did some high visibility patrols in the area. We did 3 different traffic surveillances of the stop signs and of the red lights, and we couldn't find any violations. It appeared that everybody that came down to the stop sign saw us stopped, and everybody that come to the red light sat there through the whole thing. I don't know why they didn't want to run it with us sitting there. At some of our saturation patrols, we were able to get some vehicles off the street. Our numbers, we had 11 citations issued. We made 3 drug arrests out of those 3 traffic stops, and we had 3 written warnings. We had 16 total charges. We had 1 altered tag. We had 2 marijuana charges, along with 2 paraphernalia charges. We had 1 taillight charge. That ended up being the basis for our stop. And out of that taillight charge, the driver had no operator's license. We had 2 revoked licenses. We had 2 insurance charges. We had the 1 NOL, the 1 expired tag. We had 3 speeding charges, 1 revoked tag, and 1 inspection violation. This is our directed patrol. We chose to set up our directed patrol on a high traffic area on Dillingham Road, just above the community center at the intersection of Hall Branch Road. We got some information that there were some folks up on Hall Branch that might be traveling up through there, selling drugs, and a lot of people driving with no driver's license and violations, so we set up there. You can see we had a lot of traffic come through right before it started raining, and once it started raining, kind of slowed down traffic just a little bit on the bottom slide. We had some people of interest come through our license check there, some of what I was talking about for the drugs as well. And some of the comments I heard was, why were we out here? And we advised them that we were here checking license and making sure that everybody knows that we're out here, and making sure there's not any other violations if they come through. The checkpoint lasted for an hour, and we were able to document everything on our directed patrol checklist. We also had Trooper Kent with us as well, and he was a valuable asset, and also the SCET team. And one of the members of the SCET team was given an Alka-Seltzer test to one of the drivers that had an odor of alcohol on his breath, and the driver advised that he had just drank a beer, and he did have a cooler there, and he was given an Alka-Seltzer test, and it resulted in a negative reading, and so he didn't have any alcohol in his system. All for directed patrol, we had 1 written warning issued, so we come to the conclusion that everybody that come through was legal and doing what they were supposed to do. One lady was written a warning for an expired tag that had been expired for about a month or so. We were able to assist patrol and EMS on a call for service this was due to a drug overdose, or due to a attempted suicide by drugs, and we were able to assist patrol on that as well, and the lady was transported to the hospital to be evaluated, and did not end her life on that day. And as soon as we were leaving that call, the fire chief advised us that they just received another call for service off of North Fork on Peanut Lane for an overdose involving methadone. And we were able to take that call before it was dispatched to patrol, so patrol could go answer another call that they were getting as we were pulling off a more pressing call. And the other patrol officers that were there were able to go back to their zone in the west, and that would get them back in their zone. And on that one, the young man was taken to the hospital voluntarily, and he gave us some good information on the methadone use that is in Barnardsville. Off of our traffic stops, we made 3 drug arrests. We made those right there in Barnardsville on the main street right there in front of the post office. Both stops were right there. We were able to get the tag that was altered. It was a stolen sticker, and we were able to get about 1 gram of marijuana and some paraphernalia. Take that off the street. We were given information that through our BCAT agent, they may be a suspected meth lab, so we went with them and BCAT to that address to do an investigation on that to determine whether it was a meth lab, and found out it was not a meth lab, but the people there, male and female, were using marijuana, had marijuana and paraphernalia, and the female had outstanding warrants. We were able to arrest her, and the male was issued citations for his marijuana and his paraphernalia, and found out that their kids were being neglected, and DSS got involved in that, and we were able to participate with DSS in temporarily removing their kids for safety. And also we utilized animal control to pick up their abandoned dog that they just tied up to a pole out there and just left it for its own care. We also went to another residence that we received information while we were at the Fall Festival. A lady came up to us and said, "Hey, there's some drug activity going on at the end of Peck Road and Hall Branch. Might want to check that out." We were able to go up there, and we found the house, and we did a knock and talk, and the female had outstanding warrants, and she was arrested as well. And we made the folks up there, we made contact with the folks up there close to the end of the road. They were elderly. They were very thankful for us to be up there in their community, and they had some incidents where some stuff had been stolen from them. We did another knock and talk on a residence at on Paint Fork Road that the community advised us that was possibly a had some suspicious activity and maybe a drug house, and we went there with BCAT, did the knock and talk, and they gave us full cooperation. The female resident gave us full cooperation. She let us search her house, and after that we were able to determine this was not a valid complaint. We believe the sheriff's office has gained a lot of respect back and a lot of trust back from the citizens of Barnardsville since they realized that entering Big Ivy country, that's their area. Since we came out there and interacted with them and showed some enforcement and showed some concerns of their concerns, and they don't feel like now that they've just been left and forgotten about all the way out in Barnardsville, as sometimes they're referred to, but they are part of our community. They are part of our watch at the sheriff's office. And just yesterday, we were able to assist in a search for a kid whose house is right here, close by in this area, that gave a lot of publicity as far as us being in the area. There were a lot of sheriff's office vehicles in the area, even a highway patrol helicopter, and numerous members of the sheriff's office were out looking for this juvenile, and the juvenile was found safe and sound. And I guarantee you everybody that lives in the community saw that and appreciates us being out there. So we've gained a lot of respect and trust back that we kind of felt like going in when we first started talking to these people, and I live out there because I hear it too, that sometimes they feel forgotten about because they live so far out. And now I don't think they have that perception, because I've had several people come up and tell me, as long as they come up and told other members of the C.O.P.S team that, hey, we appreciate you guys being out here in our neighborhood, appreciate your help. You've done a good job, and we feel like that we've made an impact for a positive way for the sheriff's office, everybody that's employed by the sheriff's office and in the community.
We welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. As we said earlier in the presentation, we had one BCAT agent on our team, and for obvious reasons, he can't be up here to give his presentation, so he has to remain anonymous. So I'm going to give his presentation for him. C.O.P.S team gathered information on the identities of suspected methamphetamine dealers. We conducted numerous knock and talks out there. We did a number of stakeouts. We developed some leads. We established a confidential source of information so that we conduct future buys out there from these suspects. We attempted to introduce an undercover officer to a meth dealer. We utilized the Buncombe County Anti-Crime Task Force for surveillance. We worked in conjunction with the Madison County Sheriff's Office on drug problems that are affecting both counties. And as a result of that, BCAT opened a case that will continue as an ongoing investigation. And I think the perception might be that BCAT's visibility was really low out there. Well, it is low because they have to maintain that low visibility. But the impact that they had on that community is tremendous. They've started some investigations. They've initiated them, and they'll continue with those investigations and impact the community out there a long time after we're gone. Most of our arrests and citations resulted in some seizure of evidence and property. A total of 9 items were seized. 8 of the items were evidence that we're going to continue to maintain for court. Those items include miscellaneous paraphernalia. You can see here, it includes some straws, marijuana, pipes, rolling papers, grinder, more pipes, just miscellaneous stuff that people use to take drugs with. We got 3 different tags. The first one was for an altered tag. The second one was a fictitious tag. And the third one was an invalid tag. We also got about 3 grams of marijuana. This particular one was about 2.6 grams. Got another pipe. This one was a little less than, I think it was about 5 grams, or 0.5 grams. And then we had another bag of miscellaneous paraphernalia, similar to the one that I outlined before, with pipes, straws, papers, the usual kind of stuff that we get when we do that. The last item we took was a duffel bag. We took that for safekeeping at the owner's request. They won't take stuff like that at the jail, so it's up to us to sort of impound their property and hold on to it for them until either the owner can come pick it up or his designee. We'll hang on to that for about 180 days. If no one comes to pick it up, then it'll get destroyed. And that concludes our presentation, which brings us to the part where we say our thank yous to everyone and just express our gratitude for everybody that assisted the C.O.P.S team, C.O.P.S Team 5. I'd like to take this opportunity to express thanks to Sheriff Duncan and the command staff for affording us this invaluable opportunity. We'd also like to thank our supervisors for granting us the time away from our respective units. Thank you also to the people of Barnardsville for allowing us into their community and for the cooperation and support. And finally, thank you to all the people who assisted us throughout the assignment, enabling us to accomplish our goals. We had Sheriff Buddy Harwood with Madison County Sheriff's Office, Chief Brett Holloman and the Woodfin Police Department, Deputy Wilson with Yancey County Sheriff's Office. We want to thank our immediate supervisors, Sergeant Matt Baldwin, Lieutenant Richard Roberts, Lieutenant James Hammond, Lieutenant Randy Smart, and Sergeant Don Allison. We'd like to thank Sergeant Charles Oliver and the SCET team, Trooper Roger Kent, Director Brooke Hazlitt, and the communications staff. A special thanks to them because, I think we inundated them with calls, and I think we may have gotten on their nerves at times, but they were really good and they were extremely helpful. Also with supplying us with some of the statistics and the information that we needed. Corporal Robin Michaelov, Detective Vicki Bradley, also known as Major Mouse. That says Kevin Mundy and Kevin Tipton and the entire Barnardsville Fire Department. Sergeant Alexander and Corporal Reed with Detention Prevention. Sergeant Matt Baldwin and Deborah Hulse with Transportation. Marcella Morgan and the Big Ivy Community Center board members. First Sergeant Pat Staggs. Patrol deputies assigned to the north end of Buncombe County, especially Roger Webb, he helped us out there. Principal Heidi Allison and her staff at Barnardsville Elementary School. Information Officer Tamara Stiles, all the BCAT agents, business owners of Barnardsville, Lieutenant Helen Hall, and of course our facilitators, Captain Rusty Sweezy, Kevin Presley, and Mike Murphy, who's not here today. And again, just a final thank you to Sheriff Duncan and the command staff. This was just a fantastic opportunity. And I think I speak for everyone. We're kind of sad that it's coming to an end, you know, but it's been one heck of a time. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I apologize if I've left anybody out. It was inadvertent. We didn't mean to, but there was a lot of people that assisted us out there. And so if we left your names off, again, we apologize. Just thank you to everybody. We appreciate it.